it's time, X-Men, to go back to the 90s. Welcome back to Solo Media, and it is finally time to talk about the first 3 episodes of Season 2 of the long-awaited animated series on Disney+, X-Men 97. Yes, after becoming an extreme smash hit surprise 2 years ago, even with all the controversies that was surrounding it, we are now back with Season 2, bringing our team of mutants, growing them ever so more, and facing them off against Apocalypse in an age that we'll see how it goes for all of them. But yeah, again, the first 3 episodes are now up on Disney+. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Check your local listings on Disney+. Not prime time though, sadly. But if you're willing to stay up early morning, or once you wake up, get your bowl of cereal, like the old days, those who grew up in the 90s and watched the original 90s X-Men cartoon, it's back to those vibes. But Mike, we have 3 episodes so far, going right back into the fold, picking up exactly where we left off in Season 1. How are you feeling so far about X-Men 97 Season 2?
We're back.
Yes.
As X-Men fans, and definitely preparing us for December with Doomsday. This is just having an X-Men year. Cyclops is on Marvel Rivals. I'm banning him every chance I get. But when we get this, I'm just excited to see these characters back in this fashion from Season 1 now going to Season 2. And with this new first episode called Days Past Future, that's what the title is.
It's Days of Future Past, but yeah.
Yes, but it's a spin-off of that because of them being separated in 2 different timelines, the past and future, far distant future, with different stages of the life of Apocalypse and Sabanur, and also other Marvel characters in certain time periods as well, which I thought it was great that they tied that in there, which we unfortunately could have, gotten in the MCU, but people got stuck in the quantum realm, never came back. But anyway, aside from this, I really did enjoy the fact we see some new returning characters, but also seeing new avenues of the X-Men mythos, not just with X-Men, but XFactor, and also with XForce, which again, I would never expect episode 2, the opening intro, to be XForce, and that to me was my favorite movie out of all 3 first episodes when it was released that have XFactor. Now, there's a lot of other XFactor members aside from Cable in there. Also, Wolverine's a part of it too, time Domino as well. But this version here, I thought they did a really good job just for making it timely, no pun intended, for that. In case for this episode, but also showing the evolution of some fan favorite characters we like Archangel and Psylocke. And really Psylocke, that's the main standout really of that episode of her. But yeah, I'm just very happy to see her. And Jubilee. Listen, Jubilee, again, I keep going back to Marvel Rivals, but the way they also preparing Jubilee up, it seemed like, she might be upcoming strategist for Marvel Rivals, but the way they do her in this, they have her outfit where the time when she was a vampire, but I'm glad they didn't give her that arc in this, because this will be too convoluted and too distracting and apply to that. But also, even go into the future and we see Scott Summers and Jean Grey with Nathan Summers, and with Mother Scotty, we know was Rachel Summers, and all that. So again, it's a lot of world building and lore that's establishing there, and also just encouraging viewers to read comics. I think this is also a good time just for people to go back to the basics, the foundation of these characters, and I like that also we see different variations of supporting characters taking leads, like Bishop and Cable. So I'm really loving it though. But first 3 episodes been really good.
Yeah, no, and I really also love how these episodes were structured as well, because it's like, we have the first episode with them in the far future at the height of Apocalypse's reign, the second episode in the present after the events of Season 1 and like a world without the X-Men, and then the third episode in the past back with En Sabanur and Ramatut and so many other things in the foundation of not only the first X-Men, but also some other things that you might know from Marvel history. But first, talking about that first episode though, I love the fact that, again, in the far distant future, Days of Future Past wise, in the age of Apocalypse, with that team, we have Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Morph, and Storm, with the addition of Forge, who ends up coming into the future as well, along with a young Nathan Summers before he is Cable, voiced by Bear from Obsession, and also Mother Ascani, who again she hints at who she is. We as comic book readers know it's Rachel Summers, especially when you see the Phoenix Force in her eyes, and especially if you notice her design, everything, like, you know it's an older Rachel Summers. She hasn't gone into that yet. We don't know if we'll get like a younger Rachel Summers in this season, or if they're going to reserve that for season 3. Because again, Brad Winderbaum, the producer of Marvel Television, said that he would love to get X-Men 97 up to like 10 seasons if possible. So there's a hell of a lot of X-Men stories that they could go into, and honestly, more power to it. If you're going to keep going, you know, and if it's not going to be redundant, and if you can find something new to put into each season, go ahead. So if we do end up getting Rachel, I could see it either being at the end of this season or even next season. You know, we'll see. It all depends. But I do also love how this first episode very much plays on the things that we established back in season 1 of 97 when it comes to Scott and his relationship with Nathan, because you see how his relationship is with the older Cable, you know, at the end of last season, where it's like Cable was very reluctant. He wasn't trying to spend too much time with his family because it's like, not only is it complicated, but also he didn't get to grow up with them. So Scott and Jean having the ability to grow to have a few months with Nathan, even though he did that entire time until the end did not know those were his parents, you know, that was a good full circle moment of Scott not feeling like a failure as a father, especially when you know the history with Scott Summers and his father. I just really like that. I really like that moment. I think that was the big emotional through line for the entirety of that first episode, was Scott, Jean, and Nathan. And I think that all 3 voice actors for them did an incredible job of that, while also, again, establishing the whole Apocalypse, you know, flung future, his 4 horsemen, who, again, they're not horsemen that you would probably recognize off rip, but comic book readers, you would definitely recognize these guys. They're not popular horsemen, but they are horsemen from the comics. So it's like, you know, I just again, I like how these episodes are really structured. It's like you get time with each different time period. But yeah, no, again, how did you feel about the dynamic between the Summer Jean, the Summer Gray family that we got in that first episode?
I think this is a running joke about Cyclops being, you know, dad of the year, you know, no pun intended for that, but also just how he be in circumstances where you get the short end of the stick of being a good father. But I think this was also just reassurance for him after the end of the first season, when we see that when right before they getting ready to take off and say goodbye to the older Nathan Cable, and now seeing the younger version of Cable, now filling out that chance to actually give that time, whether how little, it was just enough time for them to be bond as a family. And I thought that was good just in terms of establishing that relationship, but also emotional anchor for Nathan Summers as he eventually evolves. Even with Jean Grey, even the position of like, yes, that she is not his biological mother, but still is a Jean Grey, the Jean Grey clone, Madeline Pryor, who is dead, is still giving that sense that mother figure is still there and teach him how to, control his telepathy to restrain the technovirus and everything. And I think that was really good in terms of having that balance there, because again, it's also just showing just, hey, I know I have your mother's face. I'm not, but still I'm in this position, and I'm still also have these abilities of telepathy, and you can able to harness them, even though when he's older, he's running that 24/7 and for comic book readers and stuff. So it's just like seeing that foundational seeds being planted within Cable to fully prosper who he is meant to be, to actually be a big force against the threat of apocalypse. So
I gotta agree on that, but also we gotta talk about the one moment before we move on to episode 2. We gotta talk about Storm, because Storm within this episode pulled off something that a lot of people would be like, wait, what? But if you know the evolution of what Aurora can do, to the fact that in current comics she is known as Earth's mightiest mutant, to the fact that she is literally, like, this episode established the fact that not only is she able to control the weather and the forecast on Earth, she can control the flow of the cosmos if she wanted to, and she does that briefly here within this. And I know for a lot of people that'd be like, excuse me, what? But again, I need to know, Mike, how did you feel about that? Mother Scani's like, you can control you're gonna control a solar flare in order to power up this ship long enough for us to get to Scott, Jean, and Nathan after they get captured. And then her doing that, just the road to becoming the cosmic level, omega level mutants that we all know she is. I need to know, what were your thoughts on that moment?
No, see, Storm is OP, and y'all need to stop acting like she's not. Again, we get her in the MCU, like we need full on dark skin, melanin, cosmos raging, preaching in the skies and lightning bolts and fire, all of it. I think the part of how animation in past years have been so limited in terms of what they can actually do in terms of her powers and everything, but even in comics as well. How they show different variations of her, whether it might be some type of mystical, presence around her abilities instead of just that's just her just being Omega level mutant. And again, I wasn't surprised. Like, yep, here it is. The big guns here. And even when we get to with Storm, we have also with Wolverine. Still fan favorite, but also kind of like, put on the back seat for this episode because, he doesn't have no adamantium in him because it was pulled by Magneto in season 1. And seeing that, how they're still part of that team along with, reuniting with Forge and everything like that was good. And they didn't throw away that plot line of her and Forge. And I like that they kept that, just moving forward in the midst of these situations happening and stuff, because that is a pivotal moment in her arc. From last season, carry on to this season. No, I
definitely agree. It's like, again, for anybody who's like, oh wait, Storm is like, again, Storm, just like Cyclops, Storm is also coming up in an age where it's like people can no longer say that this character sucks. Is like when you see what she does within here, what she has done in Rivals, what she has been doing in the comics of recently. It's like when I am excited for the MCU's X-Men and when she does appear, because it's like, I know, especially under Jake Schreier, she's not going to hold back. I just already know that. But also, so the episode, of course, as we know, ends with Apocalypse leaving because he's like, oh, they're in my way. I need to go back to when they were most vulnerable. He leaves, which allows for Nathan to get the upgrade from the celestial ship. Yes, it is a celestial ship. In order to get the onboard computer that has been with him since the original 90s cartoon and last season of X-Men 97, which then cuts us to episode 2, which I think is personally just so far within these first 3 my favorite episode, just hands down, because it's like not only with that opening, but just the fact that we get so many characters that A, we haven't seen in a while, but also B, characters that you probably wouldn't think of immediately. Like, this was a big moment for Archangel, Psylocke, Jubilee, Cable, Havoc, amongst many others. So first off, I just gotta say, XFactor. The fact that we get the government-run mutant team with Havoc, Polaris, Wolfsbane, Strongman, and Multiple Man. Like, the fact that we get all of them here. Also, just noted, Havoc being voiced by Teddy Sear, who played Hunter Zolomon, aka Zoom, on the CW Flash. I didn't even know that was him until a friend of mine pointed out. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But just the fact that we had them here is cool, because it's like, you've seen Havoc and Polaris before, both in the original 90s cartoon and in other adaptations live action wise. But it's like, to see XFactor, especially this version of XFactor, what they were originally were before, recency in comics and all that shit, just seeing them capturing mutants, it's kind of a you kind of became the thing that you hate sort of thing, when it comes to mutant teams, just seeing them rounding up young mutants, including many of them, for those who know about Generation X, characters like Quentin Quire, for example. You see them here, so it's like, not only are we planting the seeds for more characters to plop up in later seasons of X-Men 97, those who have some crazy storylines and some Omega, again, going back to Quentin, Omega level telepath, and also the Stepper Cuckoos, Emma Frost's clone little girls. The fact that we just put them in here just implies so much for later seasons. But yeah, no, I gotta know, it's like, how are you probably also had moments where you saw certain characters, whether it was in that jail cell or like earlier scenes, you're like, oh, hey, that character. I gotta know, it's like the expansion of the worlds of X-Men within this. I need to know your thoughts on it real quick before we talk about X-Force.
Yeah, like you mentioned a few, but like Sync, like again, I caught his bald head, mile away. So, I was just like, okay,
Monique.
Yeah. Yes. That was the one I was looking out for, and but yeah, no, there was a few others too, but I think to the point of allowing also what you want to call a secondary or third tier characters, but the fact that they exist, whether they're still young in their development and stuff, but the fact they still exist, and it's just Easter eggs for us because it's like, okay, well, we knew they were written and posted when the show came out and everything, and in the 90s in the original season, but that you actually seen just the exploration just of different fan favorite characters for comic readers. And so eventually, if you want to do arcs and stuff with different characters, that you can get to that point if you do maybe a season 6 or 7 of this show, be like, oh yeah, it was back in season 2, and it'll be some type of like Young Justice, Justice League Unlimited type of feeling where it's like, hey, I remember watching this character in the Batman anime series, and now they're in Justice League Unlimited and they're different, and it's like, oh yeah, because they went through an arc and a journey. I like that. But the fact that they were always there, to me, I thought that was really great to see how they expand the lore of X-Men in this particular episode.
Seeing these characters, especially reading recent comics of the Krakoa era and post Krakoa era, it's like I just know what these characters got, so I can't wait to see it. But let's talk about X-Force. Cable's team, consisting of him, Jubilee, Sunspot, Psylocke, and Archangel. One, I knew Archangel was going to be here because if you're going to do Apocalypse, especially with Warren being Archangel, it made sense to have him here. And the fact that we also get to have Psylocke here again. 90s X-Men. Psylocke was one of the poster characters of there for a reason. Everyone loved Psylocke for a multitude of reasons. But just the fact of having her here, and also the difference between how we see her telepathic abilities versus someone like Jean Grey's or Emma Frost's, again, going to the whole butterfly motif. Like the whole butterfly motif that the characters have is really great. Again, voiced great as well. Voiced by freaking actor who played Golden Geisha in The Boys final season as well, which is crazy. But just having these characters here, and then the freaking X-Force opening solidified. I was like, man, I love moments when shows do stuff like that, even if it's for a one-off episode. That was beautiful. That was chef's kiss. And again, for many people who love the multiple teams that the mutant side of the Marvel universe has brought us, I know that this episode was a treat. Not only that, I gotta talk about Jubilee real quick. Jubilee, no one would have thought that the mall rat that we met in the 90s cartoon, someone that is probably not in many people's heads, would go this hard. But I'm just like, I've always known Jubilee to go this hard. And the fact that you just see her have this moment, not only of trying to reel in Cable and being like, look, we may be a little more hardcore than the X-Men, but that doesn't mean we have to throw away all the ideals, but also her getting through to Polaris, who, remember, is the daughter of Magneto and was an X-Men before in the 90s cartoon. And also her just badass fight against the US government to save all those mutants. It's just like they are propping her up, and I love it because literally we were at I did not forget the age where it was like, oh yeah, stop trying to make Jubilee happen. It's like, no, we're making Jubilee happen. And also, for those who know the Rivals leaks, she's next. So it's like, yeah, no, her time is now, and I could not be more I got a lot of Jubilee friends, and I'm just like, we were just having a ball watching this episode. But I gotta know, the jubilation is here, Mike. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about just Jubilee and where she has come up from the 90s cartoon to where she is now?
And this is when we talk about having full-on character growth, but also having moments where payoff is earned. Like, yeah, we got that episode of her seeing her older version of herself from the original voice actress who played voice Jubilee in season 1. But this was just more of that character evolving into not just an adult, but just also just a grown, mature individual, just because of just the world they not just the world they live in, but also everything they experience. And you see that, like, no, you've been with the X-Men for a long time. You should pick up some things and not just be another like damsel in distress in a situation here. And in some ways that Sunspot was almost like the proto Jubilee for season 1 for X-Men 97, and she was kind of like that figure, like, I have been where you were before, but now, like, no, I can escape myself out and also free these other people too, and allowing to use fireworks. When we say your abilities like fireworks or plasmoids or whatever you want to call it, that they like, there's a creative way of doing that visually, but also strategically in a way that using it for your advantage too. In combat, but I like the way they did that, and also just the way of even the finale of her jumping off the helicarrier and then how fireworks just blast in the air. Like, yeah, grand finale, right? But yeah, and even again, when she's escaping the ice agents in this episode, I mean X Factor, they were trying to, they did, she really get into them because the fact that they're not really bad people, they just, they just believe in the cause that they're fighting for, right? And then Polaris, I like the fact that no, Polaris, yes, you are Magneto's daughter, but yeah, you still have some good in you here. So let's just tap into that. And then she reminded herself in scale, like, I'll give you 5 minutes. All right, peace. And Havoc called what she called him? She called him a
knockoff Cyclops. Lord, does she knows that's his brother. So
right. So again, I don't believe we know Havoc and Cyclops have come past and everything, but I don't know if they actually know that they are brothers.
They don't know that at this time, because it's like by the time the show came out, that was still not known information. We know that now, but I think still in there they don't know, because I mean, if you know the Summers family
and
history,
there's a third brother
complicated. Yes, and let's not even forget about Scott's father, who has a lot of cosmic ties. Again, if you want to go into the Cyclops family, there's just but yeah, no, like they don't know that Havoc is actually Alex Summers. They don't know he's Scott's, younger brother, but who knows? We know Polaris is definitely going to be back a lot more within this season. So who knows? Maybe also here Havoc will, or season 3 Havoc will get more involved. That's just the beauty of, the mutant side of the Marvel universe. There's a lot of potential for practically every single character, good and bad. There's still some characters we haven't seen yet that we know we're going to get. So it's like, excited about that. But let's go on to episode 3, which is actually the first part of a 2-parter, which we'll get the second part, this upcoming week. The Rise of Apocalypse Part 1, where we have our team that's in the past, that being Magneto, Xavier, Beast, Rogue, and Nightcrawler in the past with Ensabanor before he became Apocalypse. His reign as the first mutant, going up against Ramatut, who, for many of us who remember that name, yes, that is an alternate, that's a variant of Kang the Conqueror, which I was not, after everything that's happened with Kang in recency, I would have not expected to see anything with Kang in the recent years. But it's like Ramatut is just as connected to Ensabanor, so it's like they couldn't skip that. And animation wise, it's like, there's a lot they could get away with. Plus he was in the original 90, well, no, a variant of him was in the original 90s cartoon, but still, he's had a presence. So we have the team back in the past, and, they're witnessing early history when it comes to him, when he was a slave, the people that, took over, plus all these futuristic robots that basically were imprisoning him. And also you have Magneto. I really want to talk about Magneto, because it's like, you see that season 1 of X-Men 97 changed him. Like, he blames himself for Genosha, but also he's trying his best, even though it is the wrong call to make. You understand that at this point, this is not the Magneto that is, he was in the 90s cartoon, or that people would probably expect him to be. This is a Magneto that is trying to make a better future for mutant kind, even if it is the wrong call or the wrong direction to go about that with. Because he's not thinking about what will happen to the timeline. He's thinking about what will happen for mutant kind, which is consistent, but still, it's like it's not a wrong idea to have, but at the same time, as Charles has said, it's like that's why he hasn't just straight up used his telepathic abilities in full force, because they don't want to screw things over, because the next thing they know, they could do this and then every single mutant on the planet would never have been born, or they could not have been born, or things could be a hell of a lot worse. It could be even worse than the future that Apocalypse has had. So it's like, I need to know your thoughts when it comes to Magneto, because again, he is a very different character than how he has been last season. Like, you can tell a lot has changed, but I want to know your thoughts on him.
Yeah, like after the events of last season, you cannot say that he is a changed individual. Not even like, oh, for the better. Like, no, he was locked up. He experienced another genocide, in real time and everything on top of the one he grew up with. And the fact that now he has a chance to feel like we can rewrite history. Of course, he's going to act on that. But I thought also in Sabanor, the advice that he was giving to him was also, noble in terms of like, okay, yeah, it was to his knowing who he become, that maybe there's a reason how he ended up the way he is, instead of just, oh, well, maybe, he might be just someone that just needed great guidance, because the only mutant was himself. He had no guidance, right? He did grow up a slave, and then here he is facing his own not only own conquerors, but like slave masters, right? So it's just, and what did that do to you when Magneto faces the same people, that took his parents, his family away, in the concentration camps and everything. So it's the same thing. He sees a lot of himself in Apocalypse, whether you want to admit it or not. But Charles also knows, like, hey, we cannot mess with anything. And even then, when Magneto's offering a better future, which is probably going to, I will be shocked by the success of this show if that we don't ever tap into the Krakoa era. Cause I think at least a vision or just a one episode dedicating the future of what the possibility of Krakoa will be, or Xavier standing and got the helmet and everything and all that. The actual mutant population cut in a quarter fraction. Like, what does that do to the entire X-Men team? And their dynamic and stuff. So. Where after the events of Genosha, like I feel like that's what he was talking. Like, yeah, well, Xavier is wrestling with the idea. Like, do I want that? Maybe I do. Let's go your way, possibly. But I think they had really good conversations here. But I think because of their ideals, as always, going to conflict and create like a bigger issue. And did you catch the Onslaught Easter egg?
I did catch that, which I think they did that on purpose, just like how they had the silhouette of Apocalypse there with Ensop and Nor in that moment on purpose. I think they are definitely planting the seeds. I don't think that's going to be this season, but maybe the season could end off in a way where we will know that season 3 will be about Onslaught, which could lead to, the Onslaught storyline, maybe even in that sense, a chance for, them to bring in the other characters from the 90s cartoon Marvel universe, which they have done before in, the other shows, and especially within the Spider-Man 90s cartoon having their own Secret War storyline. So I could see that being the chance, especially since with Marvel animation, there are not as many restrictions as there is within the live action stuff. So you could bring back those versions of the characters, and there would be absolutely no problem with doing that. There'd be no hurdles or roadblocks. You could literally do an Age of Apocalypse storyline, or you could do an Avengers versus X-Men storyline, and you can have all the characters that you want to use within that because there's no restrictions there. But Onslaughts, I think they're definitely seed planting that there, so that way either within season 3 or within season 4, which both have been greenlit by this point. We know season 3 and 4 will be happening without a shadow of a doubt within next year and the year after. So they're definitely planting some things there. Again, there's not too much to say when it comes to this third episode, because again, it's a part 1 of a 2-parter, and we will be getting that other part this Wednesday. Because it's other than that, it's just them trying to find a way to get back home, and Sabanor thinking that they deceived them, Bishop coming to save them, and then Kang of the timeline sending a beam to take them all out. We know it's not going to stick, but there's not much to say because we know where it's only half of the story versus the others, which feel like more complete stories. And again, there's still so much when it comes to Apocalypse and other characters that we have yet to see that will plop up in here. But I just want to know, because it's again, it's crazy to think that the momentum of the show has not faltered whatsoever, especially given a lot of the in real life stuff when it comes to Bo DeMeo and the changing of creatives, which I think we definitely got to talk about that, because it's we know Bo wrote this second season as well, which is probably why it feels that much consistent. But still, it's it then brings a feeling of okay, season 1 was really great, season 2 so far is really good as well, and I'm expecting the rest of the second season to follow suit. And they are working on season 3's voice lines right now, I think. But it just begs the question of are there any fears that you have going forward? Maybe not with this season, but with the rest of 97, in terms of what made the show good versus what we have left that could still be good. I think under Brad Winderbaum, especially now that he is elevated in his status of Marvel, both in terms of the TV shows and the comics, that it has the chance to still be good. We know that he'll definitely put passion into it, but are there any fears or concerns or wishes that you're having going forward, not just with this season, but with the rest of 97 in general, however long, because we know season 3 and 4 is a yes, but however long this show continues to go forward with.
This bubble's gonna burst eventually, because it happens all the time. Nothing lasts forever. Just be happy that it existed in the first place. And with Bo DeMille, with everything on the controversy and stuff that even though we're still getting revealed to this day, about his experience and everything, what was added, what was excluded, and everything. I think that we'll eventually learn that over time when we watch the show, when at the end of the day, it's about the final product, and us fans will understand, like, okay, something doesn't taste right here. Something's off. This was the cutoff point. I'm not trying to go in expecting season 3 to be crap, because knowing that he had no involvement into it. But that being said, you can kind of see when someone else's hands is on someone else's creative vision, and some fans, as much as we come from all shades of life and everything and different maturity levels, but jury fans, we're not stupid. We catch on to this stuff quick when there's a change narratively with this. And when this show came out, it kind of just shifted when a lot of things surrounding this, even within live action, that things didn't seem right. And now we're seeing, hey, this is something that we've been craving for years, and now we're finally getting. But now with everything that happened behind the scenes, I feel eventually we'll understand what happened. But as long as they keep the consistency going, I think, again, we're just going to understand this is business, but understand that the final product won't be affected in to the extent that our fears make us believe. But it's saying I do have apprehensions, and again, we'll see how this goes. But I do believe in Brad in terms of how he's running the Marvel television throughout the last few years and stuff, and I do trust him. Again, have his highs and lows moments, but eventually I think he has found his footing as a creative vision for Marvel television and stuff. But hopefully we'll see where the future lies here now, when Disney Plus is going to kind of go in under restructuring of being a little bit more separate from the MCU than they entail and everything. So we'll see. But I don't have any fears or apprehensions. I'm just more along for the ride and see how this season goes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be the same thing. It's like, it's always going to be in the back of my head. Probably not when I'm watching the episodes, but it's like after the episodes, it's just like thinking about it. And it's like eventually something will change. We'll definitely feel the differences between how he wrote things versus how the new creatives write things, or maybe even more other creatives that they might bring in, eventually, or something like that. I trust Brad because, again, the last few years of Marvel television have been a real surprise, especially given how the middle ground was, for a good long while. We've been pretty consistent for the most part when it comes to both the shows, live action and animated wise, here on Disney Plus in terms of Marvel at the very least, with Daredevil, with Wonder Man, with Agatha, with so many things. So it's like, I trust that right now in terms of his passion to make things the best that they should be, that is not going to be put into question. It's just going to be put into question, like, is Disney going to have any say in the matter? Or, when it comes to the creatives, how they want things versus how Brad wants things, or how X-Men writers who are experienced want things versus how other people want it. It's always going to be a back and forth when it comes to that. We just have to always hope that the final product will continue to be good and that there is love and passion behind this. Because I know in terms of Brad there will be, and I know in terms of these voice actors, old and new, that there will be. It's just always is going to be that one thing in the back of the head. But I think for now we just got to trust in the process and just trust and hope that it'll continue to be the show that it has been in the first season and in the second season. Even if some things change, even if some new characters come in or characters die or voice actors get changed or whatever the case may be, right, that the heart and soul of the mutant metaphor continues to be seen within this. And so far within the second season, it is. And all I can hope is just that it continues to, because it feels good to be an X-Men fan right now. We got this. We have their inclusion in Rivals. We have other games that they're in coming up. We got the Wolverine game. We got their inclusion in Avengers Doomsday later on this year. So it just feels good to be an X-Men fan after so many years of it just feeling but yeah. Anyways, that is it, guys. We have now talked all of the first 3 episodes of X-Men 97 Season 2. Again, the episodes will continue to drop weekly on Wednesdays. Again, check your local listings. Eastern Standard Time, that's like 3 a.m. West Coast, that's like midnight. So again, just check your local listings of when they drop on Disney Plus. We will be back to talk about more episodes as it continues to go forward, and just continue to hope that the season is really good. Again, I am very much looking forward to this. I think we all are. I think all of us who are fans of this are really going to love what this gives us. And so, yeah, that's it. Make sure to subscribe, comment, like, and share. Let us know what you guys thought about X-Men 97 season 2 episodes 1, 2, and 3, which you are hoping for these, next few episodes. What other X-Men characters, of the 90s, the 2000s, early 2000s, or even 2020s, that you're hoping to see pop up in here. But yeah, just let us all know in the comment section down below, and we'll be back with another video. All right, guys, we'll see you guys later. Peace.